Hey everyone, welcome back. You guys sent in a ton of articles this week, and they're all about one thing.
Pakistan.
Yeah, Pakistan. Specifically, all this unrest that's been happening.
Yeah.
Clashes between, well, I guess we gotta lay this out, right?
Where do you? A lot going on.
Former Prime Minister Imran Khan, his supporters, and
The authorities.
right, the Pakistani army, the police, all of them, it seems like.
Yeah.
And this isn't just some political squabble. Things are getting really intense. Some of these articles even mention shoot-on-sight orders.
Yeah, pretty serious stuff.
So buckle up, because today we're diving deep into this situation in Pakistan, trying to figure out what sparked these protests, why they've gotten so violent, and what this all means for the future of the country, maybe even the whole region.
It has that potential, for sure.
All right, so jumping right in here, the big headline, right? Pakistani security forces deployed to Islamabad are trying to put down these protests by Imran Khan supporters. And these protests, well, they're not exactly peaceful.
No, not at all. And it's important to remember, this isn't just some random outburst. It's deeply rooted in Pakistani politics.
Okay, so let's back up a bit. Imran Khan, he was the prime minister until, what was it, last year?
That's right. He was ousted in a no-confidence vote.
Right, and he's been claiming ever since that the current government isn't legitimate.
Exactly. He says the vote was rigged, a conspiracy to remove him, and his supporters believe him. They see him as this, I don't know, almost like a folk hero, fighting against corruption and the old guard.
So they've been holding these protests, demanding new elections, demanding Khan be reinstated. And now it's escalated to this point with the army involved, these reports of shoot-on-sight orders.
Which, by the way, if true, are incredibly concerning. Legally, ethically, the implications are huge. We could talk all day about that alone.
Yeah, we could. But first, I gotta say, looking at these articles, it's hard to get a straight story. Like one article says 40 people are dead, another one says 6, including some security personnel. So what's the real story here? Are we talking dozens dead or just a handful?
It's really tough to say for sure right now. You got to remember, this is an information war as much as anything else.
An information war.
Absolutely. Both sides are pushing their own narrative. The government, they're obviously going to want to downplay the violence, make them look bad internationally, right?
Right.
So they're saying the numbers are exaggerated, denying they used excessive force.
And on the other side?
Khan's party, the PTI, they're calling this a massacre. They're using those higher numbers to make the government look even worse.
Fueling the fire, basically.
Exactly. It's all part of this strategy to delegitimize the current government in the eyes of their supporters, the public, and even the international community. It's classic political maneuvering.
Okay, so both sides are spinning this whole thing. So how do we even begin to figure out what actually happened?
It's hard. You have to really scrutinize everything. Look at the sources, consider their biases. Who are they connected to? What are their motives? And even then, it's still tough.
I mean, that's the internet for you, right? Fake news everywhere.
Exactly. Social media, it's like a double-edged sword. It can spread accurate information quickly, but it also amplifies all this misinformation, propaganda. It's a real mess trying to sort through it all.
Okay, so the situation's chaotic. We've got violence, conflicting reports, and a whole lot of finger pointing. But then there's this one thing that really jumped out at me from these articles. Apparently, the protests have actually stopped for now, like a pause.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, like what's going on there? Khan's party says they're planning their next steps, but what could that even mean?
Well, it's kind of a fork in the road, you know? Could go a few ways.
Hold on.
It might be a chance for everyone to cool off, right? Maybe open up some dialogue, figure out a way to de-escalate the situation.
So a path towards some sort of compromise.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's the optimistic view. But it could also be something else entirely.
Like what?
It could be a tactical move. Khan and his party regrouping, you know?
Yeah.
Strategizing. And then they come back even stronger.
With even bigger protests.
Maybe. Maybe even civil disobedience, who knows? And that's when things could get really messy.
Wow. So what happens next? It all depends on what Khan decides to do.
Pretty much. And let's be honest, the guy is a savvy politician, knows how to play the game.
All right, so say Khan decides to push even harder. What are we talking about here? What could that look like?
Well, he could try to ramp up the pressure on the government, right? Call for more protests, maybe even try to get international attention focused on Pakistan, you know, try to put them in the hot seat.
So kind of like a PR campaign against the government.
Exactly. Make them look bad, try to force their hand, and if that doesn't work, he could get even more aggressive.
Like how?
Think strikes, boycotts, maybe even try to disrupt the government's daily operations. It's a gamble, but it could work.
And all of this is happening in a country with nuclear weapons.
Which makes this whole thing even more nerve-wracking,
Yeah.
right? Pakistan's a key player in a very volatile region, and any instability there, it has ripple effects.
So this isn't just some local issue. It has global implications.
Absolutely. Think about it. Pakistan borders Afghanistan, Iran, India. And those are just the immediate neighbors. What happens in Pakistan doesn't stay in Pakistan.
So what can the international community do, if anything? Can they help steer things towards a peaceful resolution?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's tricky. Direct intervention, it often backfires, you know.
Right.
Countries don't like being told what to do.
So what are the options?
Well, there's diplomacy, international pressure. Urging all sides to show restraint, to come to the negotiating table. Maybe sanctions, but those are controversial.
Yeah, sanctions can hurt ordinary people, not just the leaders.
Exactly. And then you've got international organizations like the UN. They can play a role, too. Monitoring human rights, providing humanitarian aid if things get worse, and maybe facilitating some kind of peace process. It's a long shot, but it's something.
Man, it's crazy how much is riding on this whole situation. It's scary, to be honest. What would you say is the most important thing for people to keep in mind as this thing plays out?
This is a really fluid situation. It could change at any moment.
Yeah.
So I'd say don't jump to conclusions. Look at all the information, Think about who's saying what and why, and be prepared for things to get even more complicated.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener. Thanks to you for breaking it all down for us.
My pleasure.
And to everyone listening, stay informed, stay curious, and as always, keep asking the tough questions. We'll see you next time.